What does success feel like to you? If you're anything like me in this guess, it took us a few years and a few corporate ladders to figure out what our passion and what success actually feels like to us as individuals. Good news is, on this show, we reveal the keys to igniting passion and feeling successful in your life once and for all.
There are a lot of what they call feathers in your hat are kind of what the staples of what good leaders should be, is that you should be able to recreate yourself as much as possible, but you might have people that actually can do better than you.
Today's show is brought to you by Brute Force. Are you ready to get creative with your functional fitness during these times of quarantine? Or maybe you just want to challenge yourself and are tired of fitness apps that are just not cutting it. Train accordingly with Brute Force, 100% American made. Click the link in the show notes below to learn more. Welcome to the Ambitious Vet Podcast, where we believe that if you desire more than you have in any area of life, you have to become more in the process. My name is Chris Hoffman, Marine Corps combat veteran, turned social entrepreneur, family man, and personal and professional development leader. On this show, I dive into the trenches with big thinking and conscious veterans who know what it takes to not only pay the bills after the military, but really live with a sense of purpose, satisfaction, and career fulfillment we all desire most after financial stability is no longer a challenge to overcome. Grab your pen and paper. It's time to gain the golden grenades needed to break through your fear barriers and live a life of purpose with passion. What's going on, ambitious vets? We're right back into the trenches this week with an amazing guest. This man is one of the most connected guys in San Diego, in my own opinion. But one of the best quotes that I've heard recently from one of the best basketball coaches of all time, as far as college sports in general, John Wooden. He said that it's the little details that are vital, little things that make big things happen. And, this guest that I'm about to introduce to you, ambitious vet, is one of those guys that focus on the small things, right? Every day he does small things excellent, and that's why he has the credibility, right? Has the weight to his words that you're about to hear. And more importantly, guys, if you're listening to this, this man, I'd say like last year, I had a bonfire where I was having like some of my closest friends attend. And this man made the effort after everyone left at like 11:30 midnight, ambitious vet, to show up and spend some quality one-on-one time with me. And I'll never forget that. Remember, ambitious vet, always do the small things in your relationship building, and you will find the opportunity you're looking for. So who do we got on the show today? His name is Josh Prado. He's a Navy veteran. For us Marines that are listening to this, let's be easy on him. He's a great relationship builder. He's been in the veteran recruiting, industry for a while now. He's also big into community outreach here in the veteran entrepreneur space out here in San Diego. And he's been building a fast momentum as far as connecting the dots for some of the top military entrepreneurs here in San Diego. He's brilliant at strategic partnerships, but I'm going to go ahead and allow him to start sharing what he's all about. Josh, man, you there?
Hey, yeah. Thanks for the great introduction, Chris. I really appreciate it. I think you touched on quite a few of the bullet points there. I was a Navy veteran, so thank you for your service, Marines, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, everybody. Here in San Diego, I'm just working on a few things, as we'll touch on. And my whole thing is just still opportunities for an entrepreneurship. So that's what I'm all about. And if I had a soundbite, take that. Then personal branding, corporate branding. I'm just big on trying to make an impact as big as possible, and in the most efficient way possible. So we'll definitely touch on that as we go.
I love that, man. And thank you for, saying most efficient way possible. Because a lot of us, we don't think efficient. We think, hey, we want to get somewhere epically fast, right? I fell victim to that very quickly when I got out of the Marine Corps. I wanted big success very quickly, but had to realize very quickly that I did not have the experience, the training, the certification, stuff like that to actually create that success. So that's I love that golden grenade already. So, man, you have built up quite a portfolio as far as experience since you've been out of the Navy, brother. But I want to hear what led you up to where you are today. Explain your transition story and how you got to where you are.
Oh man, yeah. Thanks for the opportunity. I rarely get to share a little bit about my transition process and the journey that led me to where I'm at today. Mostly spend a lot of time working one-on-one or in group settings with transitioning vets. But my experience was definitely not a positive one. So, yeah, I recall listening to a TED Talk at one point, and it was about how, your biggest struggle in life is probably the area where you might have the most ability to impact other people. So, I guess I would equate to a struggle was just feeling all by myself in transition. Whether or not that was self-inflicted or not, I'm not too sure. But when I got out of the military, I was immediately thrown into the reality check. So I was like a lot of folks. Uh, I got out as an enlisted person, so I didn't have a degree. I had a little bit of skill sets from the military because I worked in aviation electronics, but I didn't really want to do that on the outside. So unless I would have just stayed in. So I was looking to do something different, but I didn't really have the skills to do that, or at least on paper I didn't at the time. So it was definitely a challenge. And I'd say that, it took me 10 years to get to a certain point, and I wish, I would have met somebody during that time that could have accelerated my path and helped me be a little bit more strategic about what I was doing, why I was doing it, and all the different small details, as you mentioned, that can help facilitate instead of a 10-year roadmap, maybe like a 5-year roadmap. So
Oh, man.
there's no substitute. There's no substitute for time. There's no substitute for challenges that make you better. So I don't regret any of it. But if I can give somebody a little, as you would call them, golden grenade to help with their pathway, then I will. But I guess I'll summarize. So I Diego, California. So I'm actually one of the natives to San Diego, which is kind of rare since we're a tourist and military town.
Oh, yeah.
I grew up in worth mentioning Southeast San Diego, which is not the nicest area of San Diego. It's kind of our equivalent of the ghetto or hood, I guess you would say. It's not Compton, but it's definitely not nice. but yeah, no, I joined the military. I wanted to serve the country after 9/11. I wanted to have some college paid for, and I ended up joining back in 2006 January, and I became an avionics tech. I was not doing really well in college, and so I was never a good student, and I really kind of second guessed myself when it came to academic proficiency. So I was like, hey, my dad happened to be a laser engineer. He was actually a Marine, so he kind of inspired me to that I had some technical proficiency somewhere in my head at some point. so I said, hey, what the heck, I'll be an avionics tech. So I went off to school. I did that for a few years, and I was with working on F-18s and helicopters during my time, which ended up being about a 10-year career in the Navy. When I exited the Navy, I was definitely hit with a reality check. I moved back to San Diego, moved back to my parents' house. I went to the job center. So back then, I don't know that anybody gave me more than TAPS class. So the next thing was, to go to the job center, go online, start applying. And I went to the Chula Vista Job Center and took like some of these job postings, which are like, anywhere from $10 to $15 an hour for a job. And I was like, hey, at least it's going to be not, it won't be in harm's way. I won't be on a flight deck, or I won't be in combat. So, I ended up working at a cable company as a customer service billing specialist. So I was very, very happy to be in a cubicle and not surrounded by, high up tempo. It was quite opposite. I was just answering the phone, using customer service skills that I had. And, hit a point where I was like, you know what, this is nice, but I don't think I want to do this forever either. So it was kind of, you get out of the game, you're sitting on the bench, and you're like, okay, I want to get back in the game. So I really need to do something else. So I actually moved up to Central California. I became a manager for a sports store, and took a maybe made a little bit more money. If you could call it like $15 an hour, a little bit more money. But so for me, I was like, all right, cool. I'll work my way up. I'll become a general manager of a store, which I did, and that was actually one of the best times of my life when it came to understanding how to operate a team, operate a business, because obviously even on a small store, you run payroll, you run logistics, you run sales. So a lot of the things that I learned during that time are still used to this day. But it's just picking up those things. I mean, I have had people that worked for me that later went on to become finish up their masters. I had guys that were in college that worked for me that became EOD techs in the Army. So, there are a lot of what they call feathers in your hat are kind of what the staples of what good leaders should be. Is that you should be able to recreate yourself as much as possible, but you might have people that actually can do better than you, and you should not hold them back. You should have that time with them, so that give them the nuggets that you can, and then let them move on. So, that was a pivotal time for me. I ended up, I guess the biggest bullet point in this is I ended up having a daughter, and that really made me think of what do I do. I think I was losing my mind. I was like, what do I got to do? I think that I can't just do this, which was okay. So I started my GI Bill. I started going to school. I was like, I'm going to go to school for management. I'm going to manage this store, which I was. I worked my way up to be a general manager. And I'm also going to put in for my officer packet in the military. So I put in for a naval officer position. So that was my goal during that time. And I don't think I slept more than 2-3 hours a day for 4 or 5 years while I was doing that. So those are kind of those things where they say it takes 10 years to make an overnight success. I would say for sure that's probably true, because I don't think I had very much of a social life or anything during that time. So, but I was able to, for the folks that are pursuing their degrees, once again, I was not that good of a student. I was able to get an associate's degree when my daughter was 2. I was able to get a bachelor's degree when she was 4. I ended up getting my master's when she was 6, and then also working on finishing up my MBA. So you don't have to be a good student. You really just have to have a motivation. You have to have find your why of what makes you go to work in the morning and do what you do. So that was kind of an inspirational tale, I guess, that came out of that. Then kind of that's where things kind of started to fall apart, I guess you would say, in some parts. I Instead of going the officer path, I ended up moving back to San Diego and restarting my life after the relationship didn't work out. So I came back to San Diego and I worked for the University of Phoenix as a military advisor. So now that I had finished my degree, or a few of them, I was just telling people, hey, you could do it too. And that became really natural to me, because obviously I was a poster child for that. Going to school, going to work, being in the military. Those are kind of all the 3 bullet points that I drove in with all of my students, and was able to really help a lot of people create their roadmap for their academic success at that time. I guess the last chapter here to summarize was I decided to do a master's in education. I had a lot of experience with business management, but I wanted to, it really made me interested in training. So in the military, I became a training supervisor. I managed the training program for a squadron for maybe 6 or 7 years. So I really had a knack for training. So I pursued a degree in education, became a corporate trainer in an engineering company, which is probably the most difficult place to be a trainer, because you're working with PhDs and laser engineers and mechanical engineers.
They already know a lot.
Yeah, they already know a lot. So if you think training in the military, you can really pull rank on people and say, hey, Mr. E1, E2, this is how it goes, and this is what it says in the book. If you have any questions, who cares? But once you're dealing with people that are far smarter than you academically, or maybe at least on paper, you have to learn how to manage expectations. You have to learn to work as a team with subject matter experts. So that's something that I still do to this day. You can't always know everything yourself. You have to be resourceful. And really during that time, I was able to cut my teeth in the engineering field as a technical trainer and a coordinator for our global accounts. So during that time, a short period of time for 2 years, I'd say that's equivalent to probably 10 years of time, because I managed accounts for the training department for Samsung, Intel, some of the biggest microchip manufacturers in the world on a daily basis. And so that set me up to be where I am now. As I became the Veterans Club president there, I started to do a lot of, unofficial recruitment for the company. And during that time, I really saw that if I mentor people and I help people as they transition out of the military, maybe they've probably already finished their degrees, so that's checked already. Now that they're really trying to get into the corporate workforce, my experience in all these different industries can help them to actually get their feet in the door and actually get hired. So now I think I've worked at every stage in the pipeline of recruiting and hiring. When it comes to the on-base resources, off-base resources, VSOs, recruiting initiatives, and then hiring from the HR side. So now I manage the recruiting program IT company that is specifically looking to hire veterans in their public and private projects, as well as building strategic partnerships with other employers and ESOs across the U.S. So some of them, like Hire Heroes USA, Vets in Tech. We were going to do an event here coming up shortly. So yeah, just there's a lot of different organizations that I'm partnering on a large scale with. But it's all about those individual connections. So I think what you know me for mostly is just individual connections within the community that can help with your bigger initiatives. So that's probably long-winded, but I think as short as I can make it for now. And we'll talk about like kind of some of the future positions that we have going forward. So I'm excited to talk about what's going on in the future.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it sounds like you've done a hell of a lot, man. I mean, it sounds like you got out, right, man? You got out, you climbed up, it sounds like 2 corporate ladders. And then you were just like, okay, this isn't it, right? This is what a lot of ambitious, vets, when they come and give us feedback on the show, it's always less like, yeah, man, I thought this ladder was going to be it. That ladder wasn't it. So I climbed up this ladder. That wasn't it. So how about maybe I go back to school and leverage my benefits to figure out maybe this is it. That ain't it. And can you get us to the moment where you found like you're it, like your thing, man, that you were just like, that's it. I'm going to stick with this. This gives me the fulfillment, man. This is the thing that has me feel like I'm living on purpose with passion. Like, how would you describe, to your point, you're saying you were collecting your feathers in the hat. What was the actual hat? What was the thing that drove you, man?
I just think that it's the rising tide lifts all ships, right? And I think that having an impact in specifically the veteran community, that really gives me a clear purpose that I can help a specific group of people. Not everybody. I see it as a great opportunity to represent the veteran community. On one hand, as just being a veteran who has been quote unquote successful in the corporate sector with the academic accolades and all that stuff, but really just finding ways to pull other people up, because there are a specific, group of people that are looking at you and I and thinking that what we have is a measure of success, and us, really we're creating a path, and we're blazing that trail of our own, and then helping other people do that as well. So I can't pinpoint a specific moment. I mean, there's multiple times where I feel like, have people say, hey, we equate us being, being able to land this job or to do this thing to something that you've done. And so, I've never really focused on one specific moment that that is reached that's really really big for me. But I think what's so crazy is that I think what does on a daily basis, what keeps me going is, the measure of success that we have is sometimes it changes a lot. So, there was a time where I thought like it'd be the coolest thing in the world to be, a swick boat driver, a Navy SEAL, a Green Beret, a fighter pilot, paratrooper, whatever that is. And then due to the success that I've had on LinkedIn, which is one of my favorite platforms to use, I've been using that probably since I was a store manager at Big Five sporting goods, and I had no reason to really use it at that time. Hey, build your LinkedIn profile because you never know when it's going to pay off, right? And now I'm, at the basis, helping other people create their network on LinkedIn or on Instagram or actually in person and building their personal networks. Um, and these
Let's
people,
break that down. So,
yeah,
Josh, to that point, man, let's break that down because you are, man, you're a strategic partnership king. I mean, on top of what you're doing day by day, as far as building those high level partnerships within what you're doing for your everyday day job. I mean, you're even doing an in-person networking event called Buddy Check and Biz, right? Where
right.
you're partnering up with nonprofits, businesses, and stuff like that. So, walk us through what you look for when you leverage, say, in these times of, quote unquote crisis right now during this coronavirus. How are you daily leveraging tools like LinkedIn to create opportunity in your life right now?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've always, like you said, as far as efficiency goes, the biggest tool for efficiency right now is technology. So if you're, I guess the example of what I do best for a company or for a person is to get their messaging out there. So just like a publicist would, or somebody that does PR, I do marketing and branding for the company as a whole. So not only just helping them recruit veterans, but also to get partnered with other organizations that are out there and get the word out there. And the way that I do that is not always in person. That's through the internet. We do that through
Yeah,
social media marketing. We do that through LinkedIn. How do you get people on the other side of the country to notice you?
right.
That's something that's important as somebody who's looking for a job, but that's also important for a company that's looking for potential partnerships, that's also looking to recruit, that's also looking to build a portfolio of business. It's the same exact process that somebody was going to use to get noticed by an employer is the same process that you would use as a company to market yourself, or it could be the same process to build a friendship with somebody, or to it's a lot of the same practices that you use on a daily basis, which are traditionally people skills.
Yeah.
Um,
So what I'm hearing in that is like the book How to Win Friends and Influence People. That was one of the first ever personal and professional development books I read, and it talks a lot about the power of a smile, right? And in person, the power of a smile affects affects the person differently than say online. So in my opinion, it's like, how do you smile at people first on like a LinkedIn message or Facebook Messenger to have them be like, wow, this guy's trusting. Let's see what he's all about and actually connect with them, right? So even finding ways to be to be more of a come from a place of just like, hey, how do I start with a smile, but also how do I get into a conversation with this person to move something forward? Maybe there's something that they need that I can provide. Well, maybe there's something that you know I have that could make a difference for them. So how I would ask you this, man, as we shift gears, is like, how are you creating that smile online, man, creating that connection in a virtual world that, let's face it, it's very hard to create a personal touch.
Yeah, I should probably smile more. But as we're having this conversation, you can hear that smile through the audio, hopefully. But yeah, no. When it comes to, I guess, on a personal level, when I'm looking at a candidate or I'm looking at somebody that I'm looking to have a business relationship with, the first thing that you see is imaging. So understanding, I don't know, like I said, the listeners here, they can't see that I'm wearing a suit, on this, but I have to present a professional image. So I think the same, standards that you should have when you're in the military. I think the best impression, the first impression, if somebody says, "Oh, well, that person's well put together," and you see that online, so you can go to my LinkedIn profile and say, "Okay, this is a good standard to represent." So, not only on a personal brand, but also if you have a professional or a brand that you're trying to present. If you're a fitness brand, then you have to look like a fitness brand. If you're an IT company, then you have to look like an IT company. So it's not about faking whatever it is. It's really just crafting and curating an image. So I think I'm really good at helping a company and a person define, how to appropriately show your mission, vision, whether it's the messaging, the verbiage, whether it's the image, whether it's a video that's presented, or maybe it's in person. How does that, what is your reputation? Because I think that's the thing that you have to understand. If five people ask about you, what are they going to say? If all they're going to say is, "Hey, he dresses nice," well, all right, that's the first step. So at least at least if you don't know me, you're like, okay, well, that's something that stands out. So it doesn't always have to be how you dress. That's one way that you can non-verbally position yourself. It could be, the type of pictures that your company uses on their website. It could be high quality images. It could be you doing the things that you say that you do. So if you say that you help veterans with your company, then there should be a picture on your website of you helping veterans and some metrics that go along with it. So I think to answer
That's
your
so true.
question,
Can I speak on that last one real quick? Yeah,
yeah,
that is,
absolutely.
man, because me and right now, ambitious vet, me and my fiance Maggie, we're preparing for a long distance move to the Dallas area in Texas. So if you guys are there, you want to connect, let me know, send me a note. But I mean, we had this moving company come to us, um, you know, probably, yeah, actually a couple days ago, actually, and he came in, gave us an estimated quote on the deliverables, timelines, and stuff like that on what it would take to, actually move our stuff, which is around 1,200 pounds, which ranges around for this company around I think like $2,000 or something like that. But just how the guy was being, man, he didn't enjoy what he did. And then the last thing, when he was trying to close the deal, man, he said like the worst words you could ever say, which was just like, "Yeah, we're not going to make much money off this deal. So, I mean, it'll get there whenever it gets there," and stuff like that. And man, just the mannerisms, the tonality, all of that matters, man. If someone's not lit up and you can tell that they're not naturally operating within their values and what they up to, you can see it, man. And, he lost the deal. We got another moving company coming in on Friday morning, man, that we'd be happily giving them $2,500. We'll be right back in the trenches with Josh Prado right after thinking Audible. If you're anything like me and you're always looking to gain more knowledge on a certain subject matter, or if you're just trying to found time in their terms, to find the information you need to constantly educate yourself to be ahead of the curve, Audible is your answer. Get a 30-day trial on me by simply going to www.audibletrial.com/AMV. Now back to the show. With that being said, brother, I want to kind of shift the gears because we talk a lot about passion here, right? And
Right.
you have a theory around passion, right? And it's a common subject around transitioning vets is like, okay, I get financial stability, right? But how do I find my purpose? How do I find my passion out of the uniform? And I want to hear yours. How did you spark your passion to start, developing the professional brand out there that continues to move your life forward?
Well, I think the first thing to do when you're understanding what your passion is, is just anytime you're trying to understand something, you should look at what the definition is. So, for me, if you look up in the Webster's dictionary what passion is defined as, I pulled it up because I really wanted to really nail in this point, is it's a strong feeling of enthusiasm or excitement that causes you to act in a dangerous way. So if you want to put a understanding in your mind of what that looks like, is maybe Tom Cruise in Top Gun, and you're like, Maverick, he's dangerous, right? But something draws you to this character, right? Because he's dangerous for a reason. Because Goose died, and he's got a chip on his shoulder, and all these different things. But he's definitely passionate. Would you rather have that guy, or the guy that just goes and punches the clock, and then when he gets out of work, he punches the clock again, and he goes home, and it's whatever. So I think passion is something similar to that. I think that's a good enough analogy to put a picture in their head. And I think if people see me in person or have met me, they sense that passion that comes out. So everything that I do, I may not be the best at it. And so I think at this point, really quick, to define, people most of the time don't have any idea what I actually do, because they see a lot of different things. So I think to really kind of bullet that in, I'll explain what it is that I do and how I do it. So one thing is, on the corporate side, I'm a veteran recruiting program and program director. So I manage a training program for veterans that are going into the IT sector. We partner with a lot of organizations like Microsoft Software Systems Academy and coding boot camps to facilitate training for veterans that are going into the IT sector. A lot of that is potentially on hold with coronavirus stuff right now. So unfortunately, but the other thing is understanding how to staff veterans into projects across the U.S. So there's a lot of talented veterans that are programmers, that are working in the IT project management sector, that are very, very skilled, and they have security clearances so they can work on government projects. So I'm building a roadmap for that.
Nice.
But also on a macro scale, I don't do anything small. If anybody knows anything about me, I'm going to shoot for the moon, right? I'm going to reach for the stars and land on the moon, whatever. But I also work as the membership coordinator for the Veterans Employment Committee of San Diego. So it's not just veterans that are transitioning into IT. I work with veterans that transition into every industry, and working with employers that want to create a roadmap for those things that they need to do. There's hard skills and soft skills that they need to learn to get into that industry, whether it's hospitality, whether it's tech, whether it's construction. It is a transition to a new environment on the outside. You're going to spend longer, most likely, outside of the military than you did inside of the military. So how to create a roadmap to help use all those skill sets that we gained in the military, the leadership, all the team organization and the drive and the mentality, and how do we use that in the corporate sector appropriately, in the right way. That's something that a lot of companies are trying to understand. So I work, with those companies to create a roadmap for all industries, hopefully as much as I can. Also, personal branding. That's something where if somebody wants to understand how do I jump to the top of the stack when I'm applying for a job. Well, once again, it's understanding what your personal brand is. How do you dress? Do you know the industry? Do you know the right people? Do you know what hard skills and soft skills that you need to have to match up to the job description that's out there in the market? There's a lot of different processes and different things that you need to do to position yourself for a successful transition when it comes to employment. So that's something that I work with on a personal level. On the corporate level, we are working on just creating a name for ourselves with this company called CCS Global Tech, and we're working with a lot of government entities right now, state, county, and city, that have government projects that require IT professionals, and we want to put as many veterans into that pipeline as possible. So not only are we doing that on a personal level, but we're doing that on that as an industry as a whole, because veterans going into tech is a whole other process as well, because the IT in the military is not the same as IT on the outside. It's a lot more advanced in most cases as well. But And then the last thing I think is just the veteran entrepreneur space. So this is where we came across each other. Is instead of just helping one entrepreneur launch a business, I'd rather actually on a larger scale create an environment where all entrepreneurs can come together. And one way that we're doing that is we created a networking event here in San Diego, which is also it's a networking event for entrepreneurs, military and non-military, to come together at cool venues and and showcase their businesses, create relationships. It's just a business development mixer. It's kind of like a mini gala, if you would. And then also a portion of the proceeds of the event actually goes to the Veterans Employment Committee of San Diego. So it's basically a hybrid networking event and a fundraiser. And ultimately, I would like to have this be have chapters in other cities where they can do similar events to help drive business to veteran-owned businesses, as well as businesses that are non-veteran owned that want to collaborate with us. Because once again, we're only 9%, I believe, of the business community. So the other 91% of the businesses that don't know that they can get a veteran-owned business as a partner for their marketing, for their sales, for whatever it may be that they need, help them plug those things together and create a synergy with veteran entrepreneurs that are out there, which there are quite a few that we know and that are successful.
Yeah, no, that's great. I didn't know you did all of that, man. I'm learning about you a hell of a lot more right now, man. So I did not know you had that many things going on, and it explains why you're hard to get to. So that's impressive, man. I love how you can break that down. I think that's easy steps to follow. I know for myself, whenever I was 3+ years out, I was climbing the corporate ladder and was unsatisfied. I didn't even know to look at my hard or soft skills and see the gaps in them, because that was my gap in the moment. So like just breaking that down, being like, okay, what is my inventory? What is my inventory of soft and hard skills? And how can I start leveraging these for bigger and better opportunity in my life? Or maybe I can create a side hustle based on this soft or hard skill that I want to create. So I love how you just broke all that down. And I love what you're doing with Buddy Check and Biz. I think it's going to help bring a bigger, more thriving, more, I would say just more quality veteran entrepreneurial network here in San Diego. I've been in San Diego for almost 10 years now, about to move to Texas. And I just got to say that the quality of the veteran entrepreneur networking events that are out there are not like Buddy Check and Biz. It seems like a lot of them are drinking clubs, talking about glory days. And it sounds like you guys are doing a damn good job as far as like, how do we share resources, tools, and stuff like that, which I think those are the forward thinking conversations that need to be happening if we are ambitious vets, right? We're pursuing bigger challenges than, excuse me, financial stability. So it matters. So brother, I'm going to sum this all up. What is 3 golden grenades you would drop inside of this show for any veteran that's out there, man, that's either a mid-level manager, a beginning entrepreneur, or trying to get an entrepreneurship? What would be like 3 golden grenades that could help accelerate, their confidence, right? Their life satisfaction, maybe give them a little bit more fulfillment in life. What would be your 3 golden grenades?
Yeah, absolutely. This is definitely the area that I was most excited about. So I'd say if I were to just give 3 out, and once again, you mentioned the audience of this is not folks that are just trying to get into the industry. They might be already financially stable, but they're going to benefit from this as well. I think the first step is to be self-aware. So a lot of times we're so outward focused. We're focused on what's the next thing that I need to do. Who are the people that I need to meet? How much money do I need to make more? And they're not looking internally and understanding like who they are. So if someone asks me about a company or about that person's brand or that person, I'm really just about them. So like when I'm talking to Chris, like I know about internally, and I should know about myself as well. how do you be more self-aware? I say there's a couple of easy steps. Take a personality test. Take a Myers-Briggs personality test. Understand a little bit more about your personality profile from a psychological aspect. Not only is it fun to do, it's fun for your friends to try out. It's a proven it's a proven thing. It's the psychological process. You can do Gallup Strengths Finder. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with the Gallup Strengths Finder. That gives you your strengths and weaknesses that you can work on, and just really taking a personal inventory once again, like of your hard skills and your soft skills, and doing a gap analysis. So really, I explain it this way: if you're looking to grow your corporate career, you're going to reverse engineer everything from the job description. So if you want to be a CEO, CFO, a VP, a director, there's a job description that's out there, and you're going to want to take an inventory of what hard skills and soft skills that person normally has on their profile, or within their careers, and how do you build yourself up to that. If you're not trying to be climb the corporate ladder and you want to be an entrepreneur, then that's a separate pathway. But then you should find people that maybe are in that same industry. If you want to start, a tech company, or you want to start a t-shirt company, then find somebody that's doing that and reverse engineer everything from that and say, hey, what am I missing? Is it how do I scale myself to that level? So once again, that's all just self-reflection. So number one, be self-aware. Number two is to build relational capital. So you mentioned this as well. So how this probably came about is that people find me on social media through LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook, and they see a lot of stuff out there. But it's because I'm constantly building relational capital. I'm getting the word out there for other companies, for myself, for groups that are doing cool things in the veteran community. But you should always be doing that as well, building your personal relationships, building your professional relationships, because you never know when you're going to cash in that relational capital. And it's always a trade-off. It's not a one-way thing. It's not like everybody has to do something for me. You should be able to invest in yourself to be able to offer value to those other people. And then the last thing I think would be to define success. I'm really excited about some more things that I'm going to be doing in the future in relation to understanding success, because this is the biggest topic that we talk about in the transition community is what is your definition of success. I know recently you did a show episode with Chris Coker, which is one of my good friends, and Anish talks to the successful entrepreneurs in the community and what do they define success as. So I mean, it's maybe it's not money, maybe it's not the same thing for each person, and how do you get to that certain level of success, because everybody is striving, they want to be successful. It's just human nature. Like you want to come to work and you want to feel successful. So I think that's contrary to in the military, especially if you're in a combat situation, or maybe you're in a high op tempo situation. It doesn't have to be combat, but you want to be successful. You want to accomplish a mission. So on the outside in the civilian world, how do I feel like I'm accomplishing something? Well, one very, very unique aspect and way to look at it is, for the listeners that aren't familiar, I really encourage them to listen to Simon Sinek. That's Sinek. And he's got the biggest TED Talks that are out there. He's got some amazing books, like Find Your Why, and a few that you can listen to, and really talks about is success as defined by the chemical reactions in our body. So how do I feel successful in a workout situation is understanding how my endorphins are triggered. How do I understand, how do I feel accomplished on a day-to-day basis with, like, checking the box, like, okay, I did this, I sent this project, I got this contract signed. That's how you trigger the dopamine. For the teenagers, they trigger dopamine from maybe somebody liking their profile photo or their Instagram, leaving a comment. That kind of triggers those chemicals in our body that make us feel a certain cool way about ourselves. The other thing, but those aren't lasting. Endorphins and dopamine, those go away. The next day you got to get up, you got to work out again. The next day you got to post another picture so somebody will like it, if that's how you get your dopamine. The really two key ways is to feel successful, I think, is to understand serotonin and oxytocin. So this isn't something that I specifically made up myself. This is something that they're studying and you can look up. But those are the principles those are the chemicals that are related to leadership situations. So serotonin is you get from leading people. You know that leading people and leading groups and leading initiatives. You can understand how does that affect the serotonin in your body. The next one is oxytocin, and that one is the social impact of what you do. So oxytocin is triggered when you hang out with a friend, not on online, like when you hang out in person and you're cheersing with some maybe an alcoholic beverage of some sort, or maybe you're just giving somebody a high five. That triggers oxytocin because you have your buddy, you have your girlfriend, you have your wife, you have your team with you. So I see success as not as a financial situation. Obviously, the people that we're talking to here maybe achieved already a level of success that maybe it's over $50,000 or whatever that may be. But are they physically, do they feel successful? Are they triggering the endorphins? Are they triggering the dopamine? Are they triggering the serotonin, the oxytocin? Figure out like what is that? I have that. I mean, for me, I have that on a chart in my room, and it says, okay, well, today I'm gonna do this many push-ups, and I'm gonna call this many people, and I'm gonna see how they're doing, and I'm gonna hang out with this many people, this week, and that makes me feel successful. It's not necessarily what car do I drive, or what letters are behind my name, or how many organizations I'm a part of. What actually makes you feel successful. And I think that that's what a lot of these people are trying to understand. So if I can knock that one out of the park, hopefully that's something that I really want to make an impact is just understanding the mentality of how do we get to success. I can build a roadmap for employment, but just because you have $100,000 job doesn't mean that you feel successful. And this is what a lot of what you do in the ambitious vet, understand, what is the next step? And is it employment related? Is it entrepreneurship? Is it education? Is it giving to the community?
Financial services.
It can take a lot of different forms. So
exactly.
Yeah. So,
man, thanks for breaking that down scientifically, tactically, practically, and pretty much in every other way as well. Yeah, man. I mean, from what I know, when I think of Josh Prado in my head, and I know a lot of people in our mutual network here in San Diego and beyond San Diego, we're always just like, that guy is a dot connector. And you can tell that you enjoy that by when you're at an in-person networking event, you're just like, hey, you got to know this guy. And you can just tell that you're very intentional with what makes you feel good too. And I think there's a lot of vets that may be listening to this that are not consistent, man, with what makes them feel good because they get stopped either emotionally or mentally to keep it going. So I'm hearing like, just chase the serotonin, chase the oxytocin?
Oxytocin.
Oxytocin. Chase that.
Keep in mind, I'm not a doctor. I just think this is just really important to know because as we're, there's a lot of people that understand how you think affects your body, right? I think there's enough studies to say that your mentality affects the rest of what you do on a daily basis, whether it's your physical, body and how it changes, or how you feel. You feel successful. That has to do a lot with chemicals, and I'm continuing to learn more about that. And once again, I'm not a subject matter expert in that area, but I want to help people understand principles. I can't be everything to everybody, but the best thing I can do is give them best practices.
Yeah, that's worked for you.
That's what I do in everything,
Yeah, that with what's worked with you and you have experience, and that's what you're doing right now is you're sharing from a place of your experience that you've actually learned through probably a lot of failure, through leaving a couple probably high-paying jobs that were just like, do I feel successful? Probably not, which I think a lot of veterans can relate to that. I mean, me, man, being a sales trainer, consulting 2 companies in the marketing software arena inside the real estate world, man, a lot of people looked at my life and was just like, man, this guy has a big future in the real estate industry. And I did. But man, in that moment when I'd stand in front of these new sales reps that just got out of college, I'm teaching them sales 101 and stuff like that. It was great seeing human development happen right in front of me. But what I didn't like is the other leadership that I was surrounding myself with. And you've got to feel the culture too. So, that was one of the biggest killers for me that had me see the money wasn't always the thing that I was looking for is definitely that social connection. So thank you for hitting that one home. So, brother, how can an ambitious vet that's listening to this connect with you, Josh, with all the initiatives that you're doing? How can we learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah. You can definitely find me on social media or online. I try and make myself as visible as possible for the sake of the community. So the number one way would be they can reach me on LinkedIn. So it's going to be my first name, my middle name, my last name, Joshua Dominic Prado, Prado. So connect with me directly. LinkedIn is like kind of text messaging to me, so you can reach me on there. You can also request mentorship through Veterati. I'm sure in other shows somebody probably mentioned for a 1 hour phone call. So take me up on that. I think it's underutilized, and it's a great tool for anybody across the country to connect with veterans that are willing to put themselves out there to do pro bono hour of consulting or advice on the platform. It'll just automatically call my phone using Veterati. As far as the other organizations, the Veterans Employment Committee of San Diego, you can go on sdvec.org. That's our website for the San Diego Veterans Employment Committee. And the reason I bring that up is a lot of things that we do here in San Diego, they multiply across the U.S. because San Diego has such a big population of veterans that certain things that we do here tend to be the model for other states as well. ccsglobaltech.com is the tech company that I'm running the veterans initiatives with. That's Charlie Sierra Tech.com. And then Buddy Check and Biz, exciting news. We're going to be launching our website here in 2020. We're just working out some issues or some kinks so we can get that fully launched. But I'm excited about having all the pictures and everything up on the actual website and sponsorship opportunities and B2B, connections that we want to have on there. You can also reach us on Facebook, Vetted Talent Network. That's VETD Talent Network. That's a platform on Facebook for you folks that are on Facebook. We also have a Buddy Check and Biz Facebook group where all the pictures from our events. We've actually done multiple events in San Diego that have had over 100 people attend that are all veteran entrepreneurs and nonprofit leaders and community advocates come together. And so there's some great pictures because it's always dressed to impress. So, it's a fun little get together that we do for a purpose. And then for the most part, really, really active on Instagram. So if you have a business that you want to connect, then go to Buddy Check and Biz. Buddy Check is for the nonprofits, business is for the small business. So that's how we came up with the name. But you can go to Buddy Check and Biz on Instagram. You can go to vetted_talent network. All right, so vetted_talent_network on Instagram. And then also, there's a few other connections on there as well. But the last thing I know that you wanted me to bring this up because we had discussed this in an earlier conversation, but maybe this might be also something that might be helpful for your audience is one process that I go through when we're trying to understand what the next how do you understand what your passion is the sports analogy that we talked about, right? So I encourage people that are listening to this podcast is to take a moment. Hopefully you're not driving, but sit down in a chair, close your eyes, and think back to a moment in time before any sort of emotional trauma from the military or any sort of bad relationships, and think back to a time where you felt the most in control and the most fulfilled. For me, that was on the basketball court. So I see myself today, I can have all these different titles and I can work for all these different companies, but at the end of the day, I'm a point guard. So I was always a point guard. So what that means for you guys that, maybe not familiar as much with basketball, but is I want my team to win. So my team in this sense is the military community, the veteran community. And if I don't always have to be the person that is getting the 6-figure salary, I don't have to be the person who's launching a book or a podcast, I just want to make sure that we're moving forward. And at the end of the day, we win the game. So everything that I do is in relation to that point of time in my life. So for you, it might be that you played baseball and you were, a great outfielder. And how do I relate that to my business? So really, I mean, a lot of books, leadership books, relate sports analogies to life situations, and I think that's how I look at it. Is if nothing else, I'm still a point guard. I still like to throw fancy passes, so for me, that might be wearing a nice suit, so that that feels great for me. But for you, I don't know what those things are. I hope that you know what those things are, and that you can implement these practical steps, because I feel like everything that you're doing, Chris, is you're giving people these nuggets so they can implement it on their daily life. So there's no use in me saying all this stuff that only applies to me. So for everybody that is on your audience, in your group, your ambitious vet network, it's going to be different. Not everybody likes to dress up. Not everybody likes to write a book. Not everybody wants to host a podcast. But what is success to you? And that's something that you can think about.
I love that. What does success mean to you? And what I heard in what you just said is always find a way to bring your life where you're at. If you're dealing with challenges, you feel stopped, you don't know what decision to make, you're dealing with conflict, you don't know how to manage it, always fall back to what you were familiar with, man. I know when I was in baseball and I was that center fielder and I got that ball hit between me and the right fielder, I was just like, man, I got to act on my feet, man. He's my tag team partner, and we got to be in communication while we're tracking that fly ball down and be like, hey, I got it, or no, you got it. I don't got it. Just being in that communication. So thank you for bringing that in, man. So, brother, I just want to acknowledge you, brother, for being you are the example of this show, man. You are a complete hustler. You're a dot connector. And man, you are on the streets here in San Diego doing the knuckle dragging work that a lot of people are afraid to do out here. And I acknowledge you for just being the guy that's willing to do the work, brother. Thanks for being on the show.
No, I appreciate it very much. This is a great opportunity. I've been looking forward to being on the show for a long time. I appreciate what you do as well. So just want to make sure I acknowledge you back. And hopefully this, this sparks some conversation amongst your audience and the rest of the veteran community, is to really understand, what can you do to take initiative? What can you do to find your passion? And what can you do to help others? Because I'm only here 100%. I just want people to know. I don't care if they know my first name or my last name. If they show up at my event, they go to the website, they go to the Instagram, or they connect with you for whatever reason, then I'm happy. I don't need to be the center of the stage of attention, which is why I rarely get this opportunity to share a little bit about myself and what I'm doing. I like to just be, like you said, I like to be the point guard. I can throw the ball to the person that dunks the basket and makes the big sale or launches the big company. But at the end of the day, you say, how does that relate to business? Well, all I knew back in the day when I didn't know anything other than sports was I was okay with the ball in my hand. I was okay with the team on my back, if you will. And that's what I'm doing today is if somebody looks and says, hey, what does a veteran look like in San Diego? A young post 9/11 veteran. I'm like, okay, well, this is what it looks like. And I'm okay with taking that responsibility. And I hope more people are. And that just means that you have to hold yourself to a higher standard and you have to work as a team, which is what we're doing today. And I appreciate everything that you do too.
Yeah, that's awesome, brother. Josh, man, just thanks for bringing everything that you've gone through inside and out, man, the landmines, the failures, the successes, everything that you had to go to become who you are today, to be the ambitious vet that you are. Thanks for sharing your golden grenades, man. We'll talk to you next time.
All right, brother. Take it easy.
We're there having Ambitious Vet, episode 81 of the Ambitious Vet Show with Josh Prado. I just want to thank you for joining another episode. This will be our last one until we relaunch the next season, May 6th of 2020. If you're listening to this and you have a gritty story and you think you have an impactful mission that would inspire an ambitious vet that's out there looking to become Wild Uniform, please email me in the show notes below. Or if you have anybody in mind that you would love to have on the show, please introduce them inside via email would be the best option. Now, I want to end this by thanking our sponsor, Brute Force. Brute Force sandbags are without a shadow of a doubt one of the top selling, top performing, and most used sandbags in the industry. The sandbag is found everywhere, from garage gyms to CrossFit boxes to the U.S. Navy, and will humble any of the most athletic athletes or that corporal Marines that's always trying to prove himself. Brute Force's sandbags come in dozens of styles and sizes, ranging in weight capacities as low as 5 pounds all the way to 300 pounds, regardless of the color or weight. These are 100% American-made training products and are built from the toughest training on the planet. Brute Force trains accordingly. The best thing about it is it's free shipping domestically in the US, and they offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. Take advantage of this offer by simply clicking the link in the show notes below and take advantage of being tactical during these times of crisis. Ambitious Vet, if you're listening to this, thank you for listening to another episode. If you're enjoying the show, please subscribe, leave a review, and for more information, please visit vettrainingandcoaching.com.